Oh my god, yesterday was a terrible day for Bitcoin. It dumped almost 20% at one point. As Homer Simpson would say, don't. Anyway, don't worry. It came back a little bit today, and we've seen it all before, but nevertheless, there are lessons to be learned. Okay, so what are those lessons to be learned from the big market drop yesterday and the bloodletting that followed? Well, I guess in a way there's nothing new to be learned. We've always known that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were hugely volatile. And that volatility actually is kind of what makes it work for us. When I say work for us, I mean for people who have already taken the step, moved into crypto, and who understand that with volatility comes opportunity. And once you know that, once you've understood that cryptocurrency is volatile, then your mission should be to work cryptocurrency and gain opportunity from it in ways that can restrict and minimize that volatility in terms of the downside. So for example, if you needed to cash in a Bitcoin yesterday and your timing was slightly askew because the market had this colossal dip, and let's say that you were expecting to be able to get $55,000 for it, and for whatever reason you just put a sell order in without thinking about price, and lo and behold, to your horror, you hit the point when it went as low as $42,000. You would not have been a happy chappy, would you? Equally, stand that on its head if you were trying to sell a Bitcoin when the market was steaming away and you thought you'd get $55,000, you ended up with 60, you'd be as happy as Larry. The point is, the downside is always specific to when you are trying to sell. And what any of us who've been around crypto for a while have learned is that, you know what, you're in charge of when you sell, and you should never really panic as long as you can still see a long-term future for what you're holding. Now, here's why, again, you can absolutely, in my humble opinion, rely on Bitcoin. And it's this one simple thing. You need to understand why Bitcoin dropped by almost 20% at one point yesterday. It came down to one man, one billionaire chap called Elon Musk. You've all heard of him, I assume. He's going to try and take us all to Mars and do various other things. But apart from Mars, the man's in cars. He's in electric cars. He builds electric cars. And a few weeks ago, he was all over Bitcoin saying how great it was, and even made the announcement that Tesla would accept Bitcoin payments for its vehicles. Now he's completely backtracked on that and said, actually, that wasn't a good choice. I'm not going to allow Bitcoin payments on Tesla vehicles, and thus Bitcoin absolutely dumped. Now, the irony is that he made this comment on a environmentally friendly basis, as in he decided that the mining process with Bitcoin simply wasn't environmentally friendly, and it isn't, let's be honest, there's no denying that, and he couldn't possibly allow the name of Tesla to be dragged through that environmental argument. But here's the irony. This is the man who builds electric cars. Electric cars, on the one hand, are fabulous things, but you have to charge them up. That burns electricity in itself. But here's the killer. You have to make the batteries. The batteries predominantly are made using materials such as lithium, nickel, cobalt, aluminium, and various other choice elements. They are mined out of the ground, and the mining processes involved in getting this stuff out of the ground, trust me, they make Bitcoin mining seem like pussycats in comparison. The damage that does to the environment strangely isn't in Mr. Musk's vocabulary, it would seem. Now, if we then analyse the net effect in real raw energy terms of Bitcoin mining, it is the equivalent if you put all of Bitcoin mining together. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. Of course, we know that proof of work mining is not good compared to, for example, proof of stake mining, which would be much better. Proof of work mining is when you literally consume electricity to run high-powered computers that produce mathematical equations that are big enough and fast enough to crack open a Bitcoin block. And the fact is, if you put all of that energy process into a pot and said, how much energy do we have here, it would just about power Las Vegas. Now, on the one hand, you can react to that by saying, oh my God, Las Vegas, that's Illumination City. I mean, that's ridiculous. The electricity that must go into powering Las Vegas is massive. Well, yes, it is. But Las Vegas is one city on planet Earth. And it's not even the city that consumes the most electricity by any means. So, perspective, Mr. Musk, please, let's look at perspective. The reality is, someone's got at him and made him a case for backing back out of Bitcoin. And this happens with Bitcoin all the time, that there are pressures that come in from governments, from big swanky businessmen, and it's all the same old crap. We don't like Bitcoin because Bitcoin is just making the other part of the money system around the world look stupid. And that's the bottom line, and that's generally how I feel. So Elon Musk, do you know what, I used to think you're a nice guy. Now I think you're just confused, man. I think you're totally and utterly confused. Now, I want to move on. I don't just want to dwell on Bitcoin. So, okay, Bitcoin had a bad day yesterday, but looky here, it's back to just over $50,000. $50,000, folks. You know, $50,000. It is going to go further. Bitcoin will hit $100,000. I have no doubts about that. So if you can scratch away and find a bit of Bitcoin, it's still worth adding to your portfolio. But of course, that's your decision, not mine. I'm happy with the decisions I've made. Mostly. But here's one I'm really not happy with. A few years back in 2017, the early part of 2017, one of the coins I hammered on about, if you were reading certain things that I was writing, was a coin called Cardano, or as it's also known, ADA. Ah, what a lovely name, Ada. For the Love of Ada. Wasn't that once a TV series? I'm pretty sure it was. And back then, back in those days, when I was telling people that Cardano stroke Ada would be a really good long-term investment, we were here. We were, well, actually, this isn't going back far enough, which is kind of annoying. It was actually before that period that CoinMarketCap have gone back to. I don't know why they're not going back further on this. Doesn't matter. I'm distracting myself. Point is, back in the days when Cardano barely made it to 2 cents, that's when I was talking about it. And it had a lovely run, as did most things at the end of 2017, and hit the magical dollar. Now, I originally had a bunch of Cardano then, and I sold it. Luckily, if you wish, it doesn't really matter. It was by design, because I'd always decided I'd sell it at $1, but I sold it all at $1. And then down here somewhere, I think it was earlier actually. I'm pretty sure it was pretty soon after the dip. I was buying it again in 2018. And unfortunately, I was buying at around 25 to 30 cents. And I was expecting what's just happened to happen back here in 2019, maybe towards the end of 2019. But it didn't really happen. And I started to get a little bit miffed that it was sitting around at 6-7 cents. ironically, just before this period, I happened to bump into a guy called Charles Hoskinson in a bar in Malta. I'll show you a picture of us together. By the way, it's not a very flattering picture of me at all. Just want to make that statement before we go any further. And he was very, very gung-ho about his project, but then you expect that from the people running projects. And Charles said that, you know, Cardano's day would come, and he was absolutely right. I didn't pay enough attention to him because he was, you know, and still is, he's the boss of Cardano. What else is he going to say? But anyway, look at it now. It's going completely crazy, and unfortunately I sold all the stuff I bought. Again, terrible decision. One of the worst crypto decisions I have made thus far in my crypto career, which, by the way, is dangerously close now to 10 years, which is scary. But anyway, moving on, I decided I want to buy again. I've actually got USDT sitting around waiting to jump on and buy some more Cardano, but the damn price keeps going up. And that leads me to another point which I want to make in this video. You need to have a process for working out when you're happy to buy and when you're not. I'm kind of not yet happy to buy at around about $2, but I may be kidding myself. It may well be that we don't see it go back below these levels again. I think I'm probably going to have to bite the bullet and buy it at around the $2 mark before it goes much further. But I just have this feeling that we may yet have another little dip in Cardano, which gives me a better buying opportunity. I share that with you for whatever it is worth. It's a coin that I inherently knew was going to do well. I lost faith in it, and the whole purpose and point of this video is to explain that sometimes you just got to stick with your original gut instinct. If you think something is bad, move on. If you think something is good, take action. And I seriously cocked up with the Cardano thing, and as I said right at the beginning of the video, let's do it again. Dope. Homer Simpson. Thanks for watching. Bye.